Guys, Dynamite here, coming to you as always from the Digital Warfare 24/7 forums, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a gameplay commentary that is showcasing two different weapons, and those are going to be the MSMC, which you will see gameplay of first, and the PDW 57, which about halfway through the video will be transitioning to some gameplay of that particular weapon. Now, the reason why I've chosen these two weapons to showcase together in a gameplay commentary is that they are both extremely similar weapons, but there is still a lot of debate in the Call of Duty community as to which one of them is better. Now, certainly both of them are going to be right up there with the strongest weapons in the game, and you may ask yourself why. Now, the reason for that is that the time to kill for both of these weapons is actually going to be tied for the fastest of any automatic weapon in Call of Duty Black Ops. Now, that does include the assault rifles. There are several, like the MTAR, that are going to be able to equal these two SMGs technically in terms of time to kill, but when you consider that SMGs have better handling, faster ADS time, faster strafe speed, that's going to be the tiebreaker there that really makes these two weapons absolutely dominant in close to medium close range combat. And since that is the range in which most engagements usually occur in Call of Duty, that is going to by default make these two weapons probably, in my opinion, the two strongest weapons in the game. Now, my stats on Call of Duty Elite also reflect this. I believe the PDW is certainly the weapon that I'm killed the most by in Call of Duty multiplayer, and the MSMC isn't much far behind. I believe that's probably due to the fact that the PDW has a earlier unlock, but I digress. Why compare these two guns? Because they are in fact so similar. They have an identical rate of fire, and because they can both kill at 3 hits at close range, they have an identical time to kill. Now, the PDW 57 does not do a 3-hit kill out to the same range that an MSMC is capable of. You can see here that I'm showing the two different damage profiles up there, and the PDW 57 is definitely going to be outranged by the MSMC a little bit. Now, this is one aspect that might lead you to believe that the MSMC is clearly superior, but you have to take into account the fact that the PDW 57 has that massive 50-round magazine, and that is going to mean that you're going to have to reload a lot less. When you're using these weapons, you're typically going to be right up against the enemy spawn, sort of shadowing the players as they spawn onto the map, and what that means is that you're always going to want to have a bullet in your chamber, a bullet in your mag ready to go. And so with the MSMC, I really feel like that 30-round magazine handicaps you a little bit, and it really sort of forces you to use a magazine attachment, either the extended mags or the fast mags, just so that you can always have bullets at your disposal to take on any spawning enemies. So that is one reason why I would say that the PDW is maybe a better choice, sort of countering that longer range that the MSMC has. So that pretty much balances the two weapons out, and for a lot of people I feel like the tiebreaker is going to be recoil. Now, what I have seen from other people saying is that they think that the MSMC has a more controllable recoil. And I've seen commentaries from other people showing recoil plots where the MSMC is obviously more accurate than the PDW 57, or so they are showing. But I actually take issue with that because recoil plots tend to lie a lot. And my reasoning behind that is that recoil plots are usually done by people who just point a weapon at the wall and they hold down the trigger. They're not trying to account for the recoil in the very slightest. Now, the reason why I take issue with that is that I believe the PDW 57 actually has a lower recoil than the MSMC, but it also has a lower center speed. So if you aim the two weapons at a wall, now lower center speed means that after the gun kicks up, it takes a longer time for the iron sights to return to the original neutral position. So, of course, if you point a weapon that has lower center speed at a wall, it's going to wander. It's going to create a wider spread of bullets on the wall, and it's going to appear to be less accurate. Now, the reason why you can't judge a weapon's recoil by that is that a weapon like the PDW 57 has actually very little recoil, but the fact that it has the lower center speed means that if you don't control the recoil at all, it's going to drift on you. But if you really maximize it to its fullest potential and you learn to pull down on the look stick a little bit when you're aiming, you can really get some absolutely fantastic accuracy out of the PDW 57. And you'll see that in some of my PDW gameplay, where I get some crazy long shots just by trying to control that recoil. Now with the MSMC, I believe it has a higher recoil and also a higher center speed. And the fact that it kicks in all those different directions makes it a little bit harder to control the recoil in my personal opinion. Now, for both of these weapons, I would typically run them with a suppressor, because like I said, these weapons are meant to be employed in close to medium close range, right outside the enemy spawn. That's how people are going to put up really good scores with these, is by basically trapping the enemy and sort of hovering around, not quite in their spawn enough to flip it, but just enough to sort of contain them. That is going to be the idea there. So both of these weapons are going to perform best when suppressed. Now, you are going to have to sacrifice a little bit of your effective range for this, but you know what? That's going to be okay. Now, for the second attachment, here's where things get a little bit interesting. The MSMC, like I said, it really needs a magazine attachment. So there you go. You're going to be running suppressor and then either extended mags or fast mags. And those are your two, what I like to call your free weapon attachments right there. The weapon attachments that you can equip without using primary gunfighter. Now, on the other hand, the PDW 57, you can run a suppressor on it, and you already have awesome mag capacity. So you're not going to have to worry about that. And for your second free attachment, you can equip something like quick draw or adjustable stock, which is actually what I'm running here. A lot of people knock adjustable stock on the SMGs. They say it doesn't have as much of an effect, and technically that is accurate, but you still maintain full walk speed with the SMG when you enter ADS with a stock equipped on it, and I do believe that is pretty valuable. If you want to sort of strafe around corners with SMGs, it's a very good idea to equip the adjustable stock. And if you want to play a little bit more in your face, then that is when I would use the quick draw handle. Laser sight is kind of a controversial attachment. I believe the SMGs have enough accuracy in the hip fire department as is without modifying it. So I would really say go with something that's going to augment your attack speed if you're going to go with another attachment there. But basically, the PDW 57, in my opinion, is a superior weapon as far as it being very economical. And what I mean by that is that you can just throw a suppressor on and it's going to be an awesome weapon for you. You have one more attachment to work with before you have to use primary gunfighter, so you can throw on quick draw or something like that and you'll be good to go. Now, what bothers me a little bit about the MSMC is that you really need those two free attachments to be filled up by really necessary attachments. One for your mag attachment, one for the suppressor, and then to really make it something special, you're going to need to use primary gunfighter. But if you do that, you end up with a weapon that has a longer effective range than the PDW 57. It's still going to have very controllable recoil, even though I'm not entirely convinced that it is more accurate than the PDW 57. But basically, here's the thing. If you max out the MSMC, you're going to have a weapon that is superior to a PDW 57. But a bare bones PDW 57 with only one or two attachments is going to be superior to a MSMC with the same attachment configuration. So it all depends on if you're more into using your pick 10 system to max out your weapon, or if you're a guy who likes to load up on perks and equipment. I tend to be someone who likes to load up on perks and equipment a lot more, so the PDW 57 is going to be my personal choice here. And that does make me a little sad because it's probably the most overused weapon in the game, but I'm going to have to go with it as my favorite in this particular head-to-head matchup. So anyhow, you guys can go out there, you can test it out for yourselves. Let me know what you think. Do you prefer the PDW or the MSMC? In any case, I hope I've broken down these two weapons in a pretty good comparison, so you'll know what you're sacrificing if you choose one weapon over the other and vice versa. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for my next commentary.